Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm your host, Brian Scott. Today we're going to read some amazing quote channelings that are dedicated to understanding dreams and lucid dreams. Dreams are a fascinating subject I've discussed many times on the podcast, but it's always interesting to get Quo's perspective. If you've never heard of Quo, check out my previous episodes. Quo is a conglomeration of different social memory complexes from several densities in our universe, helping to assist a group called the Confederation of Planets, raising the consciousness of our planet as we transition to a new Earth. We begin with a question asked in April of 1989. The question this evening has to do with dreaming. The use that we can make of dreams in our lives and the various kinds of dreams that we might experience and how each might have something to offer us. Carla Channeling says, I am Quo, and I greet you in the love and the light of the one infinite creator in whose service we answer your call for information this evening. We thank you for calling us to you and give us the opportunity to share our thoughts with yours. It is most kind of you and most helpful to us, and we hope that we may in some humble way offer you a thought or two that you may use. However, we do warn you that we are not infallible, and as always, we ask for you to use careful discrimination in absorbing any information, using your discernment and your own inner remembrance and recognition of what is true for you. There are several types of dreams for all entities, and for some, there are more specialized types of dreams. We shall go over what this instrument would call the garden variety of dreams first, and that is the typically half-remembered, somewhat chaotic dream, which has elements within it, which are recognizable from the recent past. That which occurred within the recent past was not the appropriate solution for your mind, or your emotions, or your physical vehicle, or your spirit, and thusly, a proportion of your mind is working out different ways of experiencing the situation which was not satisfactory to you, or which held a meaning to you that was subconsciously recognized at the time. Thus, in the non-dramatic dream where the images are scattered and do not seem clear, it is important simply to recognize you are more than casually troubled by something within the experiences which are being rehearsed within the dream experience in whatever distorted form. These are new items of distress and have not yet descended to the level of deep dreaming. These are the easiest dreams to work with. Therefore, for although they may not seem as clear or as important, that small change which is dealt with in a daily manner when balanced becomes a very, very large amount over the long run. It is important to remember the absolute necessity of the dreaming process. Therefore, even if you cannot remember the dreams at all, at least at first, never fear that you are lacking in the dream experience, but assume that there is some other reason for the dreams to be removed from the ability to recall. In some cases, perhaps it is not well that the conscious mind deal with that which the subconscious mind finds conflicting and difficult. This will, however, cause the one who does not remember the dreams finally to experience a clearer dreaming process. Perhaps in a more dramatic manner, say, than one who remembers dreams in a regular fashion and works with the images and their impact upon waking reality, and what your own spirit has undergone in order to withstand or bear the catalyst that you experience in the dream. The other, shall we say, garden variety type of dream is the so-called clear dreaming, where one feels one is conscious within the dream. It is unusual for an entity to be able to cause the dream body to move and accept the living consciousness of the living self. Therefore, it is difficult, for instance, to cause the self in the dream to move limbs, eyes, or mouth. However, it is perfectly possible to observe the self, and these dreams are normally easier to remember. These dreams of clarity come to you after a certain amount of suffering. It is not always relationships that cause one to suffer. One's progress through life may be a course which has caused suffering. One's lack of excellent equipment may be holding one back from what one feels to be one's true career. There are many, many things, beginning with those experiences within your younger times, that are linked in a chain throughout the years, where you as an entity have continually avoided balancing some certain disappointment, difficulty, or challenge. These dreams often recur. Common themes are loss of control, lack of preparation for a test, basically those feeling times which indicate some sort of fear or negative emotion which the self is attempting to deal with while maintaining the integrity of the conscious mind. Dreaming is to be welcomed as it is an absolute spiritual necessity, an absolute physical necessity, an emotional and mental necessity. Therefore, not only the sleeping but the dreaming is to be valued for these two simple things alone. Yet there are other types of dreams. There is the prophetic dream. This is caused by a sensitive instrument's picking up the simultaneous time in the future, which is actually simultaneous with right now, when something usually disastrous may happen. If it is a very clear dream, do not be surprised if it comes true. This is not a particularly common occurrence, but it is common enough to be mentioned. Also to be mentioned in this regard with more interest is that sort of clear dream which prophesizes in a parable or extended metaphor concerning choices to be made in the near future. These are dreams greatly to be valued and carefully to be studied. There are two very esoteric types of dreams, which some have at some point within their lives and some do not. It simply depends upon where that particular spirit is in its evolution. If one has come to this plane of existence from another in which memories are retained at some level, it is not surprising that some who call themselves wanderers would dream of adventures and heroics of one kind or another in the service of those who are desperate for help. This is an experience which those who choose the path of service to others will inevitably go through. Thus, you are remembering that which has happened to you in another illusion, and you need not expect it to make sense except as a fantasy. Let it be a fantasy to you. This is not an important type of dream, for you see you are now an earth person. You have incarnated and are just as much under the planetary natural law as any third density earth native. The real work of living a life in faith is living it within this illusion. At this time, with no evidence of glory or perfection outstanding, the challenge is to feel the glory and the majesty of creation, to feel the life that is lived now, to feel oneself opening as a flower to the Creator. These memories of aid do not truly help the emigrate to earth, for it is here that each spirit has chosen to make once again that great choice of service to others or service to self. And we have all come with balanced karma. But we will not leave unless that karma remains balanced. Consequently, we urge each in this sort of dream experience to acknowledge that you perhaps had unusual adventures, but remember always that you are here to love and to accept love, to be wise and accept wisdom, to feel the time, to feel the space that is the appropriate time for each thing. There's one more type of dream that some do have who are very intensely working up the indigo ray center, that is, who are doing work in consciousness. Such will remember being a teacher, but will not remember what is taught. This is, of course, as it should be for those things which are of true help in taming the unruly spirit of mankind, are far below the conscious level of control. The aggressive impulse that has come to you through the type of body which each chose to inhabit, the variousness of free will, all of these things cause you to experience a normal human experience. However, within the dream state, it is possible to receive instruction that may, over a period of time, aid in the instinctive reactions to challenging situations, in order that your spirit may be calm and untroubled while the concern is put aside and the problem at hand approached as an enjoyable challenge. With this type of dream as well, it is very unlikely that you shall be able to remember that which you have been taught. On some occasions, there will be one thought or one sentence which you are left with. It is well to write that down, for these are your teachers. These are those who are with you always. These are the comforter which vibrates in that vibration which comforts you. So bless and welcome your teachers. They have much to tell you. We have not touched upon the nightmare, for the nightmare is not a different kind of dream. A nightmare can be that which was caused by the happenings of the day, that which was caused by repeated trauma in childhood. The classic, shall we say, nightmare is simply that type of dream which is very, very useful to examine. For what is feared, how it is feared, and what the situation that is feared is actually like, this sort of working with the dream is most helpful. We are aware that it is felt sometimes that there is some help in offering difficult images in the dreaming process. However, we may suggest that you protect yourself by praying as you sleep, that is, as you enter the state of sleep, a simple prayer, the Lord's Prayer, or a simple childhood rhyme, thus surrounding yourself with the love and the light of the Creator which you remember instantaneously, and who instantaneously sheds grace abundant upon you. The psychic greeting dream does exist, but is so very specialized that it is extremely rare. Realize that your own lives have shown you abuse, terror, shame, humiliation, and many extremes you would much prefer not having experienced. All of this is catalyst and is dealt with largely on the subconscious level. So your nightmares are actually attempts to heal and are to be valued as much as the happiest dream, for they represent a valiant and courageous subconscious mind which is quite determined to see you through that which has made you fear something or someone. There is a waking dream, which is identical to a sleeping dream in terms of the brainwave pattern of an entity. This is called the daydreaming process and is closely linked to dreaming. It is recommended that this process be monitored, such as the dreaming process is monitored, that you may discover what it is that your mind is focused upon, what your true desires are. This is what you wish to know from within yourself. So as you approach your sleeping time, ask yourself inwardly to dream truthful dreams and to remember them well. And if you can write them down, we think you will find this most helpful. It is to be remembered in analyzing dreams that a principle this instrument has learned from psychology is true. That is, each character in your dream is an aspect of yourself. This is a very large key to the analysis of many dreams. That which you do not realize, do not remember, and will never know, that which makes sleeping and dreaming utterly necessary, is that heavenly food and drink which sleeping entity receives by the grace of the one infinite Creator. Much healing occurs in sleep. Much forgiveness is engendered in sleep. Sleep is rest not only for the body, it is food, nourishment absolutely necessary for the spirit within. For you starve that spirit, my children. You do not give that spirit its wings in the daytime hours. You do not become excited passionately about what you're doing often enough. You have not enough zest. We encourage you to learn from your dreams, to grow from your dreams, and taking one step at a time to allow reality to become that which you, by analyzing your dreams, have found to be the peaceful, appropriate way of joy and dance for you. In another question they ask, I have attached a significance before to people in dreams that are new to me. People that I don't know who appear in my dreams seem to be very significant. Would you please talk about that? I am Quo and am aware of your query, my brother. The significance in general for entities which appear in the dream are, we correct this instrument, is that the entity represents some aspect of the self. That this can be the case with a stranger underlines the quality of the self that has been seen, or as you might say, projected upon the entity that is the stranger. In this instance, we would suggest that the unconscious mind is able to perceive a quality within the stranger that is obvious enough in importance to the conscious mind, being a significant aspect of the self, to bring to the attention of the self this quality. The quality may be felt rather than defined by the unconscious mind. Therefore, the strange entity, one unknown to the conscious self, is chosen in order that this feeling tone might be easily made apparent, rather than finding this quality within a known entity and risking the coloration of the quality with what is already known in the familiar friend. Question: how in a few sentences could you tell someone that writing down dreams would help the spiritual life? I would like to interest some friends in doing it, but I don't know how to tell or explain how it could be useful to them. I am Ko, and we will do our best, my sister, to be brief with the description of the value of the dreaming process. The conscious mind, the conscious entity, moves through its life observing itself and its interaction with others. This many have called the observer, that which talks to the self, critiques, motivates, reacts. Just so, the unconscious mind has such an observer quality that has a far broader point of view and a greater wealth of resources to offer in its commentary upon the conscious life. Thus, through the dreaming process is the commentary made available to the conscious self, in order that both the conscious and unconscious portions of the mind, that male and that female quality, might be utilized in a fashion, when well done, is of a balanced nature. Therefore, to rely only upon the conscious mind and its analysis of the life pattern is to utilize only half of the resources which are available to each entity within your illusion. Question: I often have a dream where I see someone asking for help, and I wonder if that is me asking for help. I am Ko, and am aware of your query, my sister. The possibilities begin, of course, as we have said, with the self. One may see various aspects of the self painted into the dream landscape, so that one may see each portion of the self as a piece in a larger puzzle or portrait. The utilization of other entities and situations may well make correlations between a portion of the self and the environment outside of the self, and how the self relates to that environment. It is well, in viewing any dream or portion of a dream, to ask the self, if it is not obviously apparent, what each portion of the dream represents. When there is uncertainty, it is well to begin a process of, shall we call it, what if? What if that is so and so? What if that is myself as I relate to this person? What if that is this portion of myself from childhood? What if that is a portion of myself that had a certain experience recently? Ask any question which you can think of, or the conscious and unconscious mind will at this point feed likely possibilities to your conscious mind as you consider the dream and its meaning. Imagine as you consider each possibility that this is true for the time that you consider it. As this is done with each possibility, each what if, examine the feeling within your heart, so that when there is a recognition below the conscious level, that you will be aware that the conscious and unconscious mind has resonated in harmony with that possibility. Thus, you may utilize both the conscious and unconscious mind in the analysis of the dream episode. Question: if it wouldn't detune the instrument, I've often wondered why some people dream in black and white and some people dream in color. Please don't answer that if it would detune the instrument. I am Ko, and am aware of your query, my sister, and appreciative of your concern as well. We shall do our best to speak to this query, though this instrument is somewhat dubious of our ability. The dreaming in the color, as is the life experience, is a quality or ability which is not as widely utilized as one would imagine. Since it seems logical, the dreaming process would faithfully reflect the day-to-day experience and the record made by the eyes. However, for many, the process of dreaming contains enough filters, shall we say, that may be utilized for a variety of purposes, that some dreams are remembered or rendered in more simple qualities, that of black and white, as you have called it. For some, this is the result of the distance one feels not only from the dreaming process, but more importantly and saliently, the distance one feels from the life experience. When there is little of the, we look into the correct words, élan vital, or gusto as you may call it, the zest that enlivens the daily round of activities, so that there is little of the numbness, little of the lack of feeling, but great feeling and motivation from within the self to partake in the life experience, thus the filters that one has put in place. will create this black and white perspective. From a question in January of 2009, they ask, I've been exploring dream and sleep yoga to accelerate my spiritual development. The idea of dream yoga is to be very lucid and aware within dreams. The idea of sleep yoga is the maintaining of conscious awareness throughout the night, never falling into a deep, unconscious sleep. Although I've only just started and I'm not very good at it yet, it has yielded good progress primarily as a result of my regular middle-of-the-night meditations. What techniques can I apply to facilitate this process? Carla Channeling says, we are those known to you as the principle of Quo. Greetings in the love and the light of the one infinite creator, in whose service we come to you this evening. We are happy to speak to your question, my brother, but first, as always, we would pause to request a favor. We would ask that each of you hears or reads these words, place between these words and your thinking process the power of discrimination, for we cannot hit the mark each and every time. Therefore, please take those thoughts that seem good and true to you and work with them, laying all others aside without a second thought. In this way, we may speak without being concerned that because of overzealousness at following our words, you miss the direction of your own spiritual process. We thank you for this consideration. My brother, you have embarked upon a fascinating and fruitful journey in examining your dreams and working with them in a very present and attentive manner. It is, of course, most helpful to attend to the spiritually fertile time of the night at approximately 3:30 in the morning, when the energies of the night are focused at their best. To move into meditation at that time creates an energy that is excellent in terms of creating for you a resting place of the spirit from which you may venture forth. It also connects you with those entities of the inner planes who have observed the same time of meditation and prayer, as well as linking you with all of those in this present experience which are observing that time of meditation. That is an excellent beginning. One's dreams are communications from those places within your consciousness which have been impressed from above, that is to say, in the daylight mind, by those things that have occurred during your day, and from below, that is to say, in the archetypal mind, by those energies, some cyclical and some anti-periodic, but not random, so that they move into your preconscious state. This mixture is always an interesting one, and a great deal of work is done during the so-called dream state to become a part of that process in a conscious manner. It's a work requiring the setting of a firm intention, and then the willingness to undergo a good bit of repetition as you attempt to become conscious within the dream state without waking yourself up. There are two fairly mechanical details which may aid you in your attempt to become conscious within dreaming, or as this instrument would say, to become a lucid dreamer. This first is to become aware that you are asleep and dreaming, and then, without disturbing your dream, to move your hand, your head, or your eye within the dream, so that the entity that you are within the dream is connected to your will. This is a delicate matter, for you do not wish to disturb the tenor of the story that is unfolding within your dream. You wish in no way to alter the dream, but only to become aware within the dream and to have control over your body as it appears within the dream. Needless to say, much rehearsal is usually required before this process goes smoothly. The second practice that shall aid you in your lucid dreaming is a matter of record keeping, assuming that you not only wish to be aware within your dream, but that you also wish to work with the material gathered within the dream at a later time. It is helpful to move with as little fuss and ado as possible to the writing instrument and the paper or to the computer. In either case, the idea is to record the experience that you have just had, not editing or choosing what to write, but writing all that you can remember. Once you become used to this discipline, you'll find this can be a time-consuming process. Nevertheless, it is a helpful one. In another session in September of 2009, they ask, what is the purpose of dreaming and the benefit of lucid dreaming? We are those of Quo and are aware of your query, my brother. The energies of love and light that we have discussed previously that are so richly filled in silence are those energies of a very deep nature, communicating with the roots of consciousness within you, that consciousness that you share with all that is. Within this consciousness lie energies that are as rivers, lakes, and oceans. You tap into them with your emotions thusly, as you go through your day, if there is little emotion felt, then you do not impress or call these deep flowing waters upward into the conscious mind. However, my brother, it is rare there is a day in which there are not those emotional responses to catalysts that do reach an intensity that calls to those archetypal waters in the roots of the mind. The response to those emotions and events felt and seen in your day build up until, within your sleeping time, there is that response from deep within you, which is called a dream. Dreams are gifts of spirit. When one's emotions are muddled, the dreams may well also be muddled and shallow. However, when one is on a spiritual path and has developed practices such as you have developed, the events of each day have a tendency to become more lucid and to reach down with a refined emotional energy, so that the messages within dreams can bubble up in a clearer and more lucid fashion into your conscious mind. Oftentimes there is the attempt within the dreams of the self to come more into balance with that which is distorted, either for joy or for sorrow. Images seen within dreams often give one clues as to the true nature of perceived experience, or the deeper nature of that experience, which has many layers, some of which you may not have seen. The keeping of a dream journal, then, is a way of receiving intelligence concerning those issues which are grist for your mill as a spiritual seeker. Such a practice constitutes a genuine resource for the seeker. The virtue of lucid dreaming, where one becomes aware that one is dreaming, is the same virtue of one who becomes aware within the dream of waking life, that he is a true witness and that he has the capacity to form his own responses. When one is able to say, move an arm within the dream character that represents himself, or is in some way able to enter into the dream as though it were a waking vision, that lucidity sharpens the ability to grasp and retain the infinite details of the concepts which are couched within the dream. There is a priestly responsibility that goes along with lucid dreaming. That which one is able to comprehend, one is then responsible for using. As this instrument would say, it is more important in lucid dreaming to walk the talk of the dream. In another session in March of 1989, Kuo begins by saying, "Now each of you uses a kind of telepathy at all times. There's a strong connection which links the learning of the channeling and the living of the life. For one is a channel, in one sense, for specific discarnate entities which are carefully named and accepted by the instrument in those cases where the contact is stable. So it is in the daily life. The reason for the meditation is that it enables one to be a clearer channel. As this instrument would unfortunately put it, a kindler, gentler channel. This is one of the great goals of the incarnation, for the gentle, peaceable, and harmless life experience is that one which reflects inner peace, and this is the first step towards graduation from third density. This requires a type of channeling. We have never done anything but applaud this instrument's desire to teach the vocal channeling, but the reason for our wholehearted thanks was not only for the 1 in 1,000 which continues in this service, but that we realized that the process is one which one may use in the daily life. You are telepathic with the self within. You are in contact with the Creator. The essence of eternity is the realization that the present moment will last forever. If one is not present at the present moment in the present tense, as the new student of life, much of vital information and perception for the far-seeking thinker will be missed. This cannot be done by will or intelligence. This must be a subconscious bias. The work upon the subconscious is through waking and the sleeping states. In speaking of telepathy, we shall briefly speak of dream state of telepathy, which is the satisfactory and deeper equivalent, physiologically speaking, of the meditative state, as more than one of this instrument's group has demonstrated at some point during a meditation by offering a snore. We may take this moment to note that this instrument's original statements earlier this evening were those which we do agree with are our own, that the physiological part of the meditative process is not the significant part of the experience, unless, and we do repeat, that there is a significance if one desires to spend one's life in meditation or to go into retreat and think intensively of the Creator. We feel, with the instrument, the danger to the integrated personality of forcing the self to live with the intensity necessary to be with the Creator. It is, or could be, dangerous enough to the integrated self that the self moves apart and the mental balance is lost. The request we make to avoid excessive periods of meditation is simply that we do not wish the accelerated process of change involved in meditation to disturb the seeker past its limits of endurance. If the entity experiences the difficulties in personality, other types of meditation such as the working in the soup kitchen, and in short, any activity which brings forward a feeling of unity with the Creator, but is active, is recommended until the self can once again tolerate the degree of change brought on by meditation. It may be seen that we are aware that meditation is the key to service to others, to knowledge of self, and to the knowledge of the Creator. Let us move on in this discussion of the lived life, for you see, the reason for the meditation is not that it is an end in itself, but that it is a tool through which one may focus one's will and one's faith. It is, if we may speak in Christian terms, a communion, a thanksgiving, and offering a Eucharist. It is the time that is, if you are seeking the Creator, the center of the day, it is time that you call to remembrance that thought which created you. It is within the illusion you experience as much a family matter as concern for your relatives, and upon the level of seeking replaces one's concerns for any loved ones. Sharpen the desire, sharpen the faith, and this shall be done through its use. Will and faith together, simple, dogged persistence, going on when you don't feel like it, getting up when you are tired, honoring the Creator to make that mysterious entity a part of your real everyday life. You shall experience change. The change is partially the dailiness of yourself, and so shall your true adventure begin as you learn what your true desire is as meditation changes your point of view. And again, truths leave, new truths come, and the imperishable truths glow and glorify the one infinite Creator. May you be daily. May you see that you were following metaphysically a path which cannot fail. May you be aware of your process of change, and so be tolerant of those who are not changing at your speed. Make the allowances reflect the presence within. We welcome each upon the path. We walk with you, and at your mental request, we are with you in silence to worship the one infinite Creator and to be with you in a deepening state of meditation. Question: would you speak about the state which is between waking and sleeping that Carla spoke about earlier, that she called the hypnagogic state? I am quote, "The conscious attention of the seeker begins as the meditation is entered, or as sleep is turned into wakefulness, to pass a point that is available from either direction. As the conscious mind relaxes, and as the sleeping self awakes, there is the point of awareness which partakes in some degree of both the conscious and the unconscious mind, and its abilities within each mode of being. At the state which you have called the hypnagogic state, the seeker is aware that it is aware, and yet what it is aware of and how it is experiencing this awareness is markedly different from the conscious awareness of the daily routine. The hypnagogic state may be seen to be that of pure listening, shall we say, being before action, in which there is the greater receptivity and the closer examination of that stimulus which is received. Most usually the source of the stimulus, however, is inward, rather than being a product of the external environment. The perception or awareness is one which allows the seeker to partake more fully with that which is perceived, that there is less distinction between the perception and the perceiver, yet enough that the seeker is indeed aware that it exists in what seems in some cases to be a dual reality. This experience is one which may allow the seeker to receive communication from deeper portions of the self and from other sources that may be external or more relatively unavailable to the conscious self. For the hypnagogic state may be seen to be somewhat similar to the carrier wave, shall we say, in your radio-electronic terms, as we believe they are used. This carrier wave allows for the placing upon of information, be it in images, in symbols, in feelings, in verbalizations that are inwardly heard. These communications may be the product of conscious querying over a fairly significant portion of the life experience. May be the focus of conscious concern that is intense in nature, perhaps shorter-lived in drawing the attention. The communication has the purpose of providing an insight into the point of concern, whether it be conscious or unconscious. The use of this state over a prolonged period of time is quite helpful as a means of communication to the subconscious mind and of retrieving information which has been recorded there and which may lend an insight or direction to the use of catalyst in the conscious mind and in the daily round of activities. Carla then asks, I have one more thing that I want to follow up as well. You're saying then basically that dreaming is a kind of telepathy or meditation, telepathy between the subconscious and conscious, a way to retrieve information from the deeper and wiser parts of ourselves that are working with the same catalyst that we are consciously working on. Is that correct? I am quo, and this is primarily correct, my sister. The unconscious mind, however, works not so much upon the catalyst as does the conscious mind, as it provides the conscious mind information in various areas, which very likely are the areas of use of catalyst by the seeker. However, the unconscious mind may also provide information which lies somewhat outside the realm of the patterns or lessons. The use of the catalyst is by the consciously seeking entity. For example, the unconscious mind may be used in the manner of which we previously spoke to engage in the problem solving, as we believe you call it, where the information is requested that would allow a completion of thought and activity to occur, or another step upon this journey to be taken. Carla then says, just a conclusion, so keeping a dream notebook then and working with your dreams is a good part of the meditative process if you use it, right? I am quo, indeed, the working with the self within the dreaming state is one very helpful means by which an entity may come to know the self in a manner that provides a richness and variety of points of view. Carla then says, but can it reach to God, the Creator? I am quo, and we would suggest that as the seeker of truth attempts to know the self, by whatever means is chosen, the seeker is making itself aware of the face of God, in one aspect or another, as it is expressed in the incarnational pattern. Thus, to know the self, in the deepest sense, is to know all selves, is to know the creation, and is to know the Creator. Question: I had a dream several days ago that I described to my child, and my child explained it to me and seemed to explain it really sharp. My question is, does this mean the child has talent, or does it mean that some people have talent to explain dreams or talking about a dream? God would use a child to clarify. God would use an instrument to clarify dreams. So my question is really, do the talents some people have about reading dreams and maybe how you go and work on it, is that clear? I am quo, and I believe that we grasp the thrust of your query, my sister. There are indeed those which express a talent for the translation, shall we say, of the dream images. These entities may have previous experience within other life patterns working with the subconscious mind and the, we shall call it, language or archetypal nature of the subconscious mind of your peoples. For each race of entities, or in many cases each nationality, shares similar experiences in a general and most basic sense that is available to each entity within the population in a way that may be translated and understood by those familiar with the archetypal journey of each human entity, which is expressed within the mythology, shall we say, of each culture. There are many which study, as any field of inquiry may be studied, the nature of the subconscious mind, and more specifically the process of dreaming. Therefore, there is the progress that might be made through study that may enhance the natural inclination of those who find themselves drawn to working with the language of the subconscious mind as a means of being of service to those who find value in the endeavor. Question: is it possible, and if possible, useful to gain active control of the consciousness within dreams so that you might be an active participant in the dream and making decisions within the dream? I am quo, and am aware of your query, my brother. Though this is indeed quite possible for the student, which not only shows a talent for this particular field of study, but which also perseveres for a great period of your time, the ability to move consciously within one's subconscious mind is properly an activity which is possible only for those most adeptly trained in this area. The training is by experience and desire, working with a portion of the being which one feels holds great resources and which one honors and respects in a way which is reflected in the daily round of activities, and also through the insights gained within the dreaming state, utilized as living portions of the conscious awareness of the seeker. question, there are more primitive cultures on Earth, or supposed more primitive cultures on Earth, who have within their culture a technique of going back into a dream and actively controlling their consciousness within the dream. As I understand, you say that this is extremely difficult for us to do, even though in the particular culture that I'm referring to, children can do it or learn to do it. Can you speak about that aspect? I am Quo, and we shall attempt to clarify at this time. The ability to consciously move within the dreaming state is for most entities within your current culture and activity reserved only for those much practiced at the use of dreams. For there is less respect given to the use of dreams, in particular in the use of the subconscious mind in general within your culture than there is within other cultures, some of which have described as being more technologically primitive in nature. Yet these cultures are much more aware through their own beliefs and teachings of the value of the unconscious mind and the dreams in particular. And therefore, the ability to move within the dreaming state in a conscious manner is a more natural part of their culture than it is of yours. And because it is a foundation stone upon which their culture rests, is an avenue frequently traveled, and the doors therefore are more open to such travel for such entities. I'm quite positive there are several more wonderful channelings regarding dreams, but this is a good beginning for Quo's discussion of dreams. Dreams are obviously at the very core of every metaphysical question that we're asking, and us going into our dream state and becoming conscious and understanding our dreams is a part of what we're doing in our waking life now. We are trying to become conscious in our waking life and understand what's happening in our illusion of awakenedness. The dream state is almost an example of what we're doing in our waking state, and the more we become actively lucid in our dreams, the more we become actively lucid in our conscious waking self. There's so many ways to interpret dreams. There's so much discussion. Check out my episode on understanding dreams. When we look at dreams from the reality transurfing perspective, and what's happening is we're simply surfing through the space of variations, and there's no reason or need for us to interpret it. It's just the soul going on different journeys. And then you look at the Neville Goddard interpretation of dreams, and it is a communication that you're having with God, that God speaks to you through these dreams. So there's a place in between Quo and Neville Goddard. Quo is saying that it is important, that as part of this process, entering into a control of the conscious state is important, and it's a part of our spirituality and understanding ourself, in communicating and telepathically with our true inner self. So there's a lot you can take from this. All I would say is become aware of your dreams. If you're going to do anything else, when you wake up in the morning and you tell your partner about your dream, or if you're alone, write it down, but become aware of your dreams. Don't just treat them like they're insignificant and unimportant. When you're in the dreaming state, try to question whether or not you're dreaming. Do it on a regular basis while you're awake. Ask yourself, am I dreaming? If you continually do this as a habit, then what you do in your dreams becomes habitual as well, and you'll find yourself asking in a dream. There's going to be a point in time, if you're continuing this practice, where you're going to be in a state that is completely awake, and there is no doubt that you're awake. You will have no doubt that you're conscious, and you're going to ask yourself, am I dreaming? And you're going to realize that you're really dreaming, that you're asleep. That is one of the most profound experiences that you'll have. Not only are you lucid, but you awaken in a very lucid and vivid state that is not any different than being awake. And when that happens, there's some sort of connection that occurs between different aspects of yourself, where you then have this ability to manipulate waking reality in the same way that you do as a dream. There's like no difference. So I want everybody to tell me about your experiences with dreams, how you interpret your dreams, how you communicate in your dreams. Tell me about your experiences. Do you lucidly dream? Have you tried out the lucid dreaming meditations I have on the channel? I have a 3-hour and I have an 8-hour. They're both fantastic. I recommend you try those out, but there's a lot of other ways. I have an episode discussing how to become lucid in your dreams, so check that one out as well. There's a lot of discussion on dreams on the channel. In any case, I want to learn from you, because I'm still learning about how to maneuver and understand and access my dream state. You can find all episodes of The Reality Revolution at therealityrevolution.com. and welcome to the Reality Revolution.